Internet. What up, Internet? What's going on? This is going to be part one of the build out of Maboo Studios up at the Aquarium Co-op in Edmonds, Washington. And obviously you can see the beginning of the video here is the 800-gallon aquarium featured in a lot of Corey's videos. I didn't really have anywhere for this time-lapse to go, so I figured let's start this out with a time-lapse of the giant fish tank, because the rest of the video doesn't have a whole lot of fish tankery nonsense in it, other than building fish tankery nonsense, stands and stuff of that nature. So you can see demolition. There was a definition of demolition, and this is demolition in action. Tearing up the building, ripping out the old stuff, some of the things that needed to come out. The building here isn't in disrepair, it's just an aged building, so there were things that needed to be replaced, things that needed to come down. They weren't quite up to par for the technology of 2018. We did get quite a few comments that people were saying that, did we take out a bunch of insulation? And I will answer that here and say we did take out a tiny bit of insulation. Certain things will come out as we go along, but they were repacked in once we fixed the wall. Luckily, this insulation isn't really doing anything except soundproofing at this point in time, because this is not an exterior wall. This is actually an interior wall of this building at this point. And all we were doing was just replacing some of this old drywall that needed to come out, mainly just because it was beat up and just had some issues. So we didn't change any structural or anything like that. We just we replaced some old drywall with some new wood paneling that looks super dope. Now, I put measure twice in here, measure twice, cut once. You maybe have heard your grandfathers or great-grandfathers out there mention something along those lines. It is very important if you're building to remember to measure twice, then measure again, then write it down. There's nothing quite like working on a job, doing anything, especially fish tank stands. They're going to be carrying a hefty load, and you're an inch off, or you're 5/8 of an inch off, or something like that, and it ends up being a real essential thing that you didn't measure twice. So always remember to measure, and write these measurements down as you go along. It's going to be a big help to anybody out there. This back wall over here is where the fish tank stand was going to be installed. We did see a lot of questions coming in regards to whether or not this tank stand, this aquarium stand, was going to be braced or not. Yes, I assure you, it is braced. I think it's braced triplicate. I think it's braced 3 times over. So you can see here, this is just basically the test run where we just kind of threw the tanks on there to see how they were going to fit where we wanted them. And then there was a big discussion in regards to whether or not which aquariums were going to go on here. And it turned out that there's 4 29s on the left and 2 75s on the right, with some cabinet area adjacent to the 75s on the right hand side. We ended up wrapping this whole thing in 3/4 inch maple plywood, which gives it a lot of durability after the fact, not to mention also all the extra bracing that I mentioned earlier. And it is fully attached to the wall, although we can take it down someday if it needs to come down. We can actually pull it apart, and here's a little bit of a preview of what it started to look like by the end. But there's a thing that we need to mention right here in the middle, and that is we had to get all the old air lines out, all the old water lines out, and all of that stuff removed out of the way, which became quite a process of moving things around, getting tanks in and out, and also plumbing in the air lines, plumbing in the new water lines, and all that stuff as we moved along in the project. Just kind of to highlight a little bit of a lot of the work that went into it, because, well, you know, honestly, we recorded it, so it seemed like it would be good to post it up and then let people have a good have an inclination of the work that went into it. With where the Maboo Studios is at today, it is looking much different than this. It's a much cleaner look and stuff like that. You'll have to pay attention, hit the notifications, and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And pay attention for part 2, 3, and 4 that will be coming out over the next couple weeks. And hope to see you at the Real Fish Talk live stream. You can talk to Corey and I on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It is a 2-hour-long show. If you haven't checked out any of the old ones, go ahead and check those out, and they'll be there in the archive. And hopefully everybody has a fantastic day out there. Later.